Fruity or Matt's recording audio, but I know my audio is not recording. So, all right, if Fruity's got audio, then we're good. Good to roll.
Cool.
Testing,
Thank you
1, 2, 3.
all
Yep.
for tuning in to another episode of CAA Today. We have two very special guests with us today. We have Fruity, a CAA alum. We have OSU kid from Southern Utah. To welcome them both to the program.
Hello, hello.
What up?
Hello,
Good to
hello.
have you back in this conference, even if it is only for about an hour or so.
Glad to be here.
We'll launch right into our Week 4 recap, another conference week, as we head into an out-of-conference week here. And we'll start our CAA recap with the game of the week. Really a lot of good options to choose from here. CAA consistently has really close games. We had 4 games this week, then 3 points, and then another game go to triple overtime. The final game was really decided in the fourth quarter, but was close up until that point. Hard to pick just one from this group. Does anyone want to try and single one out as the particular game of the week?
I know my game was pretty good, but I also liked the Villanova VMI game. That was a really interesting game to watch and go through. Solid play all around the conference, as you said, but that game kind of stuck out to me as my game of the week choice.
All right, to me, I love a good shootout, so my game of the week would be Robert Morrison, JMU.
I got to go RMU, JMU as well. 51-49. That was a really fun one for the neutrals, as most of these games were this week. But Robert Morrison, James Madison for me would be game of the week. So let's go through each of the games. We'll talk about them one at a time here. First up, this was a game that got decided close to the deadline here. Oregon State and Richmond. I think it actually hit the deadline with about a minute left in the game. Oregon State coming out with a 1-point victory, 29-28 over Richmond, moved to 3-1 on the season. What did you all think about this game?
When I was following during the week, initially it seemed like Richmond was going to kind of run away with it. I think they went, was it 28-7 at one point, 21-7?
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Richmond had a big lead, and I was thinking it would end. Oh, all right, we're good. Richmond had a big lead, and I was thinking that it would end, and the South would get to battle for Appomattox win there. But Morgan State, huge credit to Ryland with the big comeback there. Super well played.
I thought this was in hand for Richmond. I had pretty much tuned out of this one in the third quarter there when it was 21-7 heading to the fourth. And Morgan State had other plans. Certainly really exciting to see them get to 3-1. I had a feeling the winner of this game could get ranked. Neither one of these teams has really gotten the appreciation that they deserve so far this season, and I'm hopeful that a 3-1 Morgan State will get some consideration for the top 25 this week. Next up, we had Towson and Delaware State. This was one of the games that I was really excited to watch. Delaware State has had a tough season, and Towson has a relatively new coach. This was their second game in charge at Towson. And it was a really fun game. I'd love to hear Matt's thoughts or Mr. D's thoughts if he wants to join in on how the fourth quarter went down. Let's ended up 60-37 Delaware State after Delaware State put up 36 points in the fourth quarter.
Oh, look, I would really love to say it was a tale of two halves, but really it was a tale of 3 quarters and 133 seconds of the pure carnage from Delaware State. That really won it for them. It was sort of a real, read about it in the papers tomorrow kind of game, to be honest, because it really didn't tell the story of how close the game was until that last 2 and a bit minutes of madness from Matt and the Delaware State offense, to be honest. It was really to and fro sort of game, and it was only a few points in it, as it was for most of the Colonial Athletic Association games in this round, but really it was a series of unfortunate events that were really about to unfold for us. There was a fumble on the kick return which led to 36 unanswered points from Delaware State. There's some really well-timed calls by Matty. That brought the bacon for home at the death. The only consolation for us was that we kicked a field goal, or actually a drop goal, in the last 5 seconds of the game, 40-yard drop goal to make it a scoregami. So, look, this is a real sort of back to the drawing board game for Towson. We're a real sort of three-quarter team, and we need to really get new games under the belt to get the swing of things. It's a rebuilding phase for sure, but I mean, how long can we use that reasoning before it becomes a lame excuse? But well done to Matty. An excellent game.
Thank you. Thanks for that. However, I legitimately thought I was going to lose until I scored that. Even after I scored that first touchdown in that run, because every single time I would score, you would just go right back with like a kick return or something, and all of a sudden it was I returned your kick for a touchdown, and then you threw a pick, I tricked back, and you fumbled away with a kick back, and then it was a touchdown. Oh, just, before I know it, I'm up by 23.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a real mad kind of game, but a fairly enjoyable one. But yeah, I can see I was putting the win percentage in there. Like, it was very close. And, yeah, I just got away with it. And there some great calls there. But so that's something to learn for next week, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I think I was asking around and I did some looking, and that's one of the top 5 high scoring single quarters in FFCS history that isn't a single meme game. So really well played by really well played by DSU and Matt. And that fourth quarter was truly crazy. Well played.
Next, we'll turn our attention to VMI and Nova. This was another really exciting game, another one that came down to the wire. VMI led by 7 heading into the fourth. Villanova won the fourth quarter 10-0 to take a 31-28 victory. Jen, I don't know if you have any thoughts on your game this week.
Yeah, you said, it was a big fourth quarter from us there, to get on a 2-game win streak here and really take control of the North Division, only team to win the conference in the division. So, puts us in a spot, going into week 5.
Always interesting to see the defending conference champ lose a conference game. I know they've had a season starting out 1-3 now, but they're a very dangerous team, and we're a playoff team last year after winning the CAA. So hard to find a better 2-2 team in the country right now than Villanova, with losses to Chatty and a really close loss to Cal Poly. Wins on the road, I might add, against really good Morgan State and VMI teams. Next, we'll turn our attention to my game. So this was a bitter game for me. My first loss on the season to a really talented Delaware team. If you listen to the last podcast, I kind of saw this one coming in preparing for Delaware. I recognized that they were a really good team. They're now 3-1 on the season. I fully expect them to be ranked after this game. 17-14 was the final. Really came down to just a couple of plays in the game. There was sort of a random kick return for a touchdown. It wasn't a meme. I don't really think it was based on scouting that Delaware returned that based on our discussions in the chat. Just sort of a lucky play that happens every now and then. Or 2 4th and 5s that Delaware picked up 5 yards and 6 yards on, and if I had stopped him on either one of those, probably would have ended up winning this game. So it's one of those games that didn't go my way. That I'd like to have a few plays back, but we're moving forward and excited about Maine this week.
Oh yeah, great game. And people look. Oh, sorry, Matt. People will look at the score, and they'll say oh, it was probably a defensive game, but no, I'm pretty sure there were touchdowns on half the drives, and it's just because of the absolute clock controlling madness that the option is that the score ended that low. But super entertaining game to watch and look through as that game progressed.
I would say that with the kick return touchdown and all the fourth downs, I feel your pain because I played Delaware the week before. I think he got at least 4 4th and 5s on 2 or 3 different drives. It was just so frustrating with the option. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And our next game is Duquesne and William and Mary. This was an absolutely insane game as well. Went to triple overtime with William and Mary pulling off the win, 41-35 over the Dukes of Duquesne in triple OT. I don't have a ton to say about this game. This game also came down to the wire and was decided on Saturday. Absolute dominance on the clock. The option team, as you would expect, William and Mary. Just a really fun game to watch the overtime session.
This game actually had
My apologies for mispronouncing that, by the way.
I only watched up until I think the first overtime was over. That was a fun game. If I'm not mistaken, William Mary did have a sub as well. At some point.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I missed that.
I was just going to mention there is going to be a little asterisk by that game because William and Mary did get a sub. I think it was start of overtime or right before the fourth quarter ended, and the sub took over and won the game for overtime.
Yes, I see now that Lancer is claiming responsibility for the victory over Duchesne.
Oh, good job. Fantastic win.
Yeah, absolutely. And helped out Bobo's cause for sure. And last, this was not a consensus game of the week, given how many good ones there were, but we'll talk a little bit more about Robert Morris and James Madison. Out of the yardage in this one, 527 yards for Robert Morris, 372 for James Madison. Dor, I don't know if you want to shed any light on this game.
Oh yeah, not the best defensive game, but it was super well played by both coaches. As you can see, Robert Morris lit me up in the pass game, and it was embarrassing. I did get help with the turnovers. I think I had 2 turnovers returned for a touchdown, and one of them I actually called. I was in general chat or like game chat or one of the two, and it was before the play happened. I was in the chat and I was like, "Hey Depp, what if this turned into a 750 difference?" And Depp calls his number and it is a 750 difference. So I got lucky there. Super well played. Just couldn't get those last 3 yards when it mattered at the end. So yeah, I took a tough L and hope to rebound next week against Alabama State.
Sun matchup. So this was week 1 of our battle for Appomattox, which is the new North versus South matchup here in the Colonial, and it finished tied 3-3 this week. So we'll continue on to the next week of battle for Appomattox, which is week 6, all locked at 3. Although I'm not sure who calculated this stat, but someone came up with a pretty good stat about the spread and the points, and I'll let them, whoever it was, I don't know if that was or Edge, take credit for that.
Oh yeah, it's just so big help from DSU, but the North has a the South has a 27-point advantage at our next category. So if the games are tied after all of the North-South games have been played, we're gonna look at margin of victory. So after this week, the South has a 27-point lead in the margin of victory. Big help from obviously DSU. And yeah, that's how we'll decide the Cannon. I forgot the name of the Cannon, but the Cannon winner will be decided by
Civil War Cannon.
The War Cannon. There we go. So yeah, that's why I calculated that, just so we can have a little reference point.
So now we'll move into a segment called What Did You Get Wrong?, where we look back at our predictions from last week and discuss what we would take back if we could. Let's lead us off here.
I guess I'll lead us off here. Last week I said that Youngstown State wasn't ready to lose yet. I said I knew they would eventually, but I didn't think they would do it yet. So
Too soon.
Yeah. And then, I also had Towson beating Delaware State. I thought, after a good showing against YSU, they'd have a good week, but they ended up not being able to pull it out.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I had Towson over DSU. I also had VMI over Nova because I thought VMI was kind of getting back on track after they got their first win of the season. So, yeah, those are the two that I got wrong.
I had Delaware losing, and I had William Mary losing. I got William Mary wrong, especially because I had them. I think I said they were going to get smoked, and they sort of won in triple overtime. I got that real wrong.
I had a pretty bad week on my CAA predictions. I went 2 for 6. I did actually correctly have Delaware beating Youngstown State, and I also had Morgan State the winner, but not a good week for me overall in my predictions. Now it's time to hand out Coach of the Week here in the CAA. I'm going to go with Delaware State. Got their first win of the season. Got their first conference win, obviously. No, Towson is still a relative newcomer in this game, but he did play 2 ranked teams, one as Towson and one as a sub last week, and played them close. I predicted that Towson was going to get the win here. So, maybe that fourth quarter is the turning point, Delaware State this season. I'll give a secondary Coach of the Week to Purple.
Oh, yeah, Purple, obviously, congrats on your win. And my Coach of the Week was RMU, partially because they played me, but partially because they were able. For me, 3 yards or less is like one of the easiest calls for me because I can just run it with the spread. And as long as I get less than a 500 difference, then it's going to be at least 2 or 3 yards. So for him to stop me 2 times in a row with a 500, like a 5 out of 7 chance for me to get it, well played, very well played. So RMU is my Coach of the Week.
I'm going to go with Delaware, actually. He beat a top 5 Youngstown State team. I feel like that by itself should really get him Coach of the Week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Delaware State with Bernie there. It was a game that was really close going into the fourth quarter, and, to be able to run away with it like they did is, that's a good sign, and, we'll see if that can be a turning point.
I'm going to second Door on this one by going Robert Morris. Depp is a great coach. They've had some struggles early. It had some really close losses in the first 3 games. Finally pulled out a win this week. So proud of them.
Bless you, kid. I don't know if you want to nominate anyone as a Coach of the Week. Feel free to jump in on this segment or any of the other segments as we move along. But I'll give you the floor if you'd like to contribute a Coach of the Week here.
I like a lot what RMU did too. It's really hard. I know when you get in a hole and you feel like it's hard. You can't pick numbers. You can't do anything with it. But when you start losing games too, it feels really hard to get back on top of things. So anytime you get out of that winless column, it's really good for you.
Absolutely. I'll turn it over to my colleagues here for Stat of the Week.
Oh yeah, my time to shine. So Stat of the Week, we're going to talk about how every single game in the Colonial went down to either the last drive or the last quarter. So all 6 games, obviously counting out the big fourth quarter by DSU. We had a great showing out of the conference. Shows really how even this conference is and how well each coach can play, and each coach has a chance to win every game. So I took my Stat of the Week. I was going to originally mention that 36-point quarter, but I just kind of thought maybe we should turn it over to the whole CAA as a whole and kind of give a props to every single coach for playing some really good games this week.
And for Player of the Week, we have Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week.
Okay, so
you want to go for it, Matt?
I think for offense, we got my quarterback, Terrell Frank. He was 54 for 68 for 429 yards, 7 touchdowns, no picks, 1 2-point conversion, and played a pivotal role in that massive fourth quarter. And on defense, we have JMU linebacker Franco Oakley. He had 10 tackles and a forced fumble.
Next up is our CAA Power Rankings, voted on by the coaches of the CAA. And also, while we're pasting this graphic in here, I'd like to also just thank the ASUN one more time for the graphics package. It's been super helpful for us to copy and paste and move some of these things around to create our graphics. So thanks to them as well. But we have a new leader, the CAA Power Rankings, unanimous choice among the four of us who were able to vote this week. Delaware takes the top spot away from the Penguins of YSU. Makes sense after their victory, 2-0 in conference, 3-1 overall, and leading the way. Followed behind by Youngstown State, Kane, Villanova, Oregon State, Richmond holding on to the sixth spot, defending champs VMI sitting there in seventh. Bobo and Lancers, William and Mary takes the eighth spot. We have a three-way tie for ninth between Robert Morris, James Madison, and Delaware State. Howson brings up the rear in 12th. I don't know if anyone has any comments on the power rankings, anything that surprises them. Fruity OSU kid, as you take a look at this, is there anything that stands out to you or anything that you might have voted differently?
Looking at it, I'm still surprised at the Delaware with the first place votes, because I know they got the win over Bernie this week, but I'm surprised nobody kept Bernie at number one.
I mean, I don't really have any issues specifically with either specific pick, but it does really kind of surprise me. I know I'm a big Sky guy through and through, but if you even take a look from top to bottom, the conference is really well balanced. And I played Towson. He subbed in a game for me the other week, and he's good. I mean, so someone at the bottom of the conference power rankings is a really good player. So it's just kind of shows the strength of the conference.
Honestly, the biggest surprise to me is the three-way tie between RMU, JMU, and DSU. Next week, they can get out of that gridlock.
I like what Ampersand was saying. I think that was my biggest surprise as well, that Duquesne is still in the 3 spot. I do think some of these rankings were submitted Saturday before some of the games went final, which probably played a role in a couple of these teams and their rankings for those last couple games that got finished up Saturday night. But yeah, I think that's probably the big surprise to me as well.
Well, for me, I did mine this morning, and my reasoning for putting Duquesne I put him at 4 or 5, but I put him pretty high compared to some of the other ones. I saw one had him at 8 or like 7, one had him at 3, and then one had him at like 4 as well. I put Duquesne up because they were playing against a sub, and they controlled most of the game, so I thought it wasn't fair to just knock them down after a kind of tainted loss. That's my reasoning for putting Duquesne up. Probably higher than it should be, but, kind of my reasoning behind it.
Yeah, and it is good to see Edge getting the respect that he deserves. A 2-2 team, but a really, really strong resume. And I'm sure when you look at the metrics, that compare how tough your opponents were, that 2-2 record is going to hold up. And I'm sure, at the end of the season, going to be a final win-loss that reflects just how strong of a team Villanova is right now.
And I just want to throw in there, you look at the power rankings, and no one really amazingly better than anyone else. It's a very even conference, and especially that 3, 4, 5 with Duquesne, me, and Morgan State, we're all so even that one thing, one person votes slightly differently, and that all gets switched up.
Sure. Now we'll discuss what the most surprising upset of the week was, your view. So we have three candidates here. We have Delaware defeating number 5 Youngstown State 17-14. Portland State over number 19 Weber State 40-36. Mercer defeats number 16 Florida A&M 48-21. Wants to give their thoughts on the more surprising upset among those 3.
So, I'll start off. I'll go with Florida A&M, actually, because even though they are ranked, it was most surprising to me by the amount that they lost by. 27, I want to say. So, just that wide margin of victory was what surprised me the most.
For me, I put Delaware over YSU as my upset of the week. even though I did predict it last week, so it is kind of contradictory. But I believe that it's weird seeing a team that is number 5 in the FFCS go down to an unranked. And even though we as a CAA know that Delaware should be like very well deserving of a rank, still kind of weird to see an unranked team beat a top 5.
I'm going to go with Mercer against Florida A&M here as well. I know Rico is a good coach, and the folks in the A-Sun definitely feel like Rico doesn't get the attention that he deserves as well. But SLO was off to a really good start this season, ranked. Mercer was coming off a tough loss last week to Alabama A&M, and I didn't think that this game would be a blowout either way. So to see Mercer come out with a huge win, I do think that margin of victory makes that the most surprising upset this week, in my opinion.
I'm gonna go with Portland State over Weber State. Gotta rep the Big Sky a little bit. But Weber State came into this with confidence, came into this on the back of 3 good wins. And for Portland State to come over there and beat him is just like, especially the way he did it, just a late drive, a late touchdown. Very commended.
I was kind of looking at a margin of victory because there are a couple games that we already gone over that are big upsets. But if you look at Campbell, I mean, I know it's BC and everyone knows they're number 1, pretty much undisputed. But to put up 0 points and hold them to no points, it's pretty impressive either way.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. And now we'll play contender and pretender of the week after week 4. I'll start it off. My contender this week, NC Central. I know they're a top 10 team and possibly a top 5 team after this week. But Junie, I think does not get the respect that he deserves. Should definitely be considered a contender, especially after a lot of top teams took a loss this week. And Junie did not. So I would say I would nominate Junie and NC Central as my contender, and I got to go with the Penguins as my pretender of the week. Had a lofty top 5 ranking, and did not perform well against Delaware. So we have another opportunity to show what we're about this week against Maine. But this week we are my pretender of the week.
Oh yeah, I'm up next, and my contender was Delaware. We in the CAA, like I said, we know Delaware is such a good coach, but they're still severely overlooked by everyone that is not in the CAA that does like coaches poll. And I'm sure the committee's going to overlook him come their rankings. So they were my contender, and then I had 2 pretenders this week. First off was SLO with FAMU. I had them as one of my contenders early season because they had 2 big wins. And then my other pretender was Western Carolina because I was full aboard the Western Carolina hype train. I was consistently saying that there was no curse. But for them to come out and lose, I don't know who they lost to, but I do remember seeing them lose. It was shocking because I was so adamant that Western Carolina was going to be really good.
Yeah, so my contender is Kennesaw State because they played extremely well and beat a very good Stetson team. My contender is also Western Carolina. I was also aboard the hype train, especially after what they did to Bobo in week 2, being 60-67. But after they lost to an albeit 3-1 Furman team, I still don't think that they would be able to hold their own with it.
All right. Well, my contender is actually also Delaware with Dorr there. They got a really big win against, a top 5 team that's, that hopefully will finally put them, on the radar for some people. And then my pretender is Campbell. I know that they lost to the number 1 team, but to get shut out like that, lose by such a big margin, that's never good.
So my contender is moving to the Big Sky again. NAU, Northern Arizona, they did get ranked top 10, but they are moving after this week to top 5 in Weighted Park Newman, and I think they haven't gotten the love that they deserve. So Northern Arizona for the contender. And for my pretender, I also had SLO at FAMU. Because, Mercer is 3-1. That's not that bad of a loss looking at the records. but you can't be losing by 27, especially if it's on the road. It's a tough game, but you can't be losing by 27. So, the FAMU Pretender.
So I have Montana State as my contender. I mean, I think people kind of forgot him out a little bit because he lost a game, but Danny's obviously a great coach, and I always have him high, especially with Big Sky. Pretender, I have myself. I have Southern Utah. I mean, I really haven't played anybody yet. I mean, obviously I'm undefeated, but until I really kind of play tough opposition, I don't really feel that we know if I'm good or not yet.
So that concludes week 4. Let's turn our attention to week 5, another out-of-conference week. The CAA gets a break from the bloodbath of playing one another. We get to take out our frustration on the rest of America here. Is your CAA game of the week here in week 5?
So my game of the week is going to be 2 high-flying. I think they're both air raid offenses. The game that is North Dakota State playing Delaware State, that game is going to be an offensive nightmare, a defensive nightmare. It's going to be dreams for the offense. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it.
So North Dakota State is that was actually a scrimmage I had that I just finished. My actual game this week is Western Carolina, but my game of the week is going to be who was it?
You had UD and DSU. This in the script that we.
They were playing this week. Delaware and DSU, which are both option teams. That'll be interesting.
I'll go with Davidson and Towson. And I think Towson has an opportunity here in a non-conference game to show what they're all about and to get their first win of the season in their 3rd game under new management. And so I'm excited to see how they do against an unbeaten Davidson team that obviously is going to be ranked, obviously is going to be favored in that game. But I think Towson has a chance to surprise some folks and pull the upset over Davidson. So that's the game I've got my eye on.
I agree with that actually, because I've just done a quick number crunch, and the average amount of points that Davidson have scored is 24, as opposed to mine, which is 37 per week. So there you go. I should be winning that game fairly easily, depending how much.
Towson is a 13-point favorite.
That's right. Put it out. Read off the papers, everyone.
Love it. Fruity or OSU Kid, you have a game of the week. It can be a Big Sky game of the week if you want to highlight one of those.
Oh, I was just going with one of the games on the list. If I had to choose one of the CAA involved games, I have to say Youngstown State at Maine is going to be an exciting one, because those are 2 solid coaches and 2 solid teams facing up. If we're going outside of the Big Sky, I'll pick my game against Jacksonville State. Big Sky ASUN matchup.
I like that. Head OSU Kid.
I was gonna say, I also, if you want to look at the Big Sky, I like Fruity's game. If you want to look even further outside, Northern Colorado or Stetson's probably the biggest game, or one of the biggest games of the week. Period.
Agree with that. And I am excited for my game on Maine. I'll just talk about it for a second here. This is a rematch of the Ocho championship game from last year's postseason that we immediately scheduled a rematch. YSU come out on top in that one. So I'm sure Maine players have had this one circled on their calendar since it got scheduled. But Maine was one of the tougher teams that I played last year, so we'll see how this one goes. Really excited for this one. Okay, so we'll go game by game here and just give some predictions on how these games are going to go. First up, we have Western Carolina and Delaware State.
Like I said, I believe in the Western Carolina curse, so give me DSU. Let's say DSU by 10.
So I'm gonna make myself to win again. It worked last week. It only works again this week. I'm gonna try not to underestimate them as they are a good team. So I'm gonna say if I win, it would be by 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna Delaware State here too because they got a good late game win last week, and I think they'll keep it rolling. Get to work their way towards 500 with a 2-score win.
Yeah, I think Delaware State comes into the fourth trailing by 35, and they put up 36 again to win this by 1. I got Delaware State by 1.
Sad, I don't want to dunk on Matt too much and ruin the sweep, but I am gonna go with Western Carolina by a score. Yeah, they got a tough loss last week, but they are 3-1, and I think they'll just try and get back to winning ways in the out of conference week.
I agree. I'll go with Western Carolina here. I think it'll be a closer game than some of the guys think, but I will go with Western Carolina.
So we have Duquesne at Holy Cross. Wants to give their thoughts on this one.
I guess I'll just start off again. I want to mention that Duchesne's quarterback that started off so hot, like a contender for the Player of the Year in the CAA, has now just got sinking on the ranking list. So I picked Holy Cross by 3.
I also agree with you. I feel like they might be reeling after losing to Bobo. So I think that Holy Cross wins by about a score.
See, I think last week I said that Duquesne was my I was paying enough attention to, and despite that tough loss, I think I'm going to stick by that, and I think they're going to win by at least a score.
Yeah, this is tough for me. I'm good friends with Holy Cross, and I think Duquesne is a really good coach. I am going to go with Holy Cross on this one. I think field advantage plays to the Crusaders' favor. I think Holy Cross probably in a second half, maybe outscores Duquesne by 7 in the second half.
So I'm gonna go with Duquesne, my old team. I think they're coming off a tough loss, but again they're a solid team, and I think they'll get back on the winning run.
I agree. I'll go with Duquesne on this one. I definitely feel like bouncing back is a huge thing in this game, and I think they'll be able to do it.
Next up is JMU and Alabama State.
I don't really know much about Alabama State, to be honest, so I'm just going to say JMU by either 3 or 7.
Yeah, I'm going here. I don't know a whole lot about. I'm not too familiar with Alabama State. I think JMU will win a close one.
I've learned against betting on myself, so I picked ASU by 14.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I know Alabama State flies under the radar in the A-Sun. I think JMU gets the win here. I think this is going to be another CAA Classic close game, but give me JMU by a field goal.
I'm going to go with JMU by a score as well. Solid coach. We'll see what happens.
I think it could be a surprising game, but I'm also going to go with JMU.
Next up, we have Lafayette against Morgan State.
Lafayette's riding big win, so I have them winning this week against Lafayette. Morgan State is off a big win, so I have them beating Lafayette this week.
I'm just going to say Morgan State because I don't even know who Lafayette is or what their record is or who they've beaten, so just have them by default.
Lafayette is 2-2 and coming off a 7-point loss to Colgate. Those wonder.
The Morgan State bounced back after a tough loss last week, to me. So I think they'll really get back on track here, and they're going to be a good team throughout the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Morgan State as well. I think Morgan State should be ranked this week. Look like they are. Taking a look at the poll so far. Oh, excuse me, they are. They're number 10 in the poll right now. That's Montana State. I can't read and talk at the same time. They're not ranked right now, but they should get in there. And certainly once they beat Lafayette, I think they will be. But I'll go Morgan State.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Morgan State as well. Lafayette may be 2-2, but you can't be losing to toothpaste. So Morgan State by a score.
Absolutely.
I'll go Morgan State. I like the mascot more.
Here you go. Next up, Richmond at Lamar.
Don't know much about Lamar, so give me Richmond by 4.
Yeah, Richmond's on a 2-game, but I think they're going to bounce back and win by at least 2 scores.
I want to say Lamar timed out last week, so I think they're going to lose big to Richmond here.
Yeah, I have Richmond here. I think they're one of the better 2-2 teams in the country as well, and I think they get to 3-2.
Yeah, Richmond is solid, and Lamar, they barely got past the first quarter by Friday night. So Richmond, I guess.
Yeah, I think Richmond's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I've watched some of their games, and I think they're good. So I'll go Richmond.
Next up, we have to be determined against Robert Morris. Your takes on Robert Morris against an unnamed opponent?
Robert Morris by 10, baby.
Robert Morris has that near unstoppable offense, so I think they're probably going to win against whoever it is.
Agree. I think probably the teams who are less likely to set up a game on average are less good than Robert Morris. But for that reason, I'll go RMU.
I think RMU will keep it very close as they have in all their previous games this season, but I think they'll pull this one out in the end again.
I think RMU's going to have a good bit of confidence coming off of a big win there, so I think they'll keep it rolling.
Next up, we have Davidson at Towson.
This is my statement game. This is it. This is where I announce myself to the whole of FCS. I'm here. I'm going to win. 37-24. You heard it here first.
I'm with you there. I have them winning by a score of, if I can just check my script here, I have it 42-35 in favor of Towson.
I'm going to go against both of you. Towson's playing a bit of a gauntlet here in these 3 to 5 games in a row against tough teams, so Davidson is really good. I'm just going to say Davidson wins by 10-20.
So if Towson has the most likely winless team to go on and do anything, so I think they could surprise the big fourth quarter upset.
I agree. I have Davidson on upset alert this week. Davidson could be number 7 if the current poll holds. I think Towson pulls this one out.
In my heart, I really want to believe in the Aussie power in the Towson, but everything in my brain says Davidson is coming in as top 10, maybe a top 5 team. Their options won't quite be a boat race, but it's gonna be 2 scores maybe.
Oh, go with your heart, mate. Come on. Go with your heart. That's what we want here.
I really like Towson. I think I've talked about this before. I think they're a really good team. Everyone thinks they're really good. They could be a really good coach, a really good team. I'm gonna have to go with Davidson. I think it's gonna be very, very close though. But I'll go Davidson.
Next up, we have North Carolina A&T traveling to Villanova.
It's okay. So I officially don't know if Naki's going to be coaching. So if Naki's coaching, give me North Carolina A&T about 13. If it's anyone else, I don't care who it is. It could be Jake or Baba for all I care. Give me Nova by 13.
You see, I know played Naki before in the off season. When he was playing I think it was his D2 team. And, I beat him there, so even though you got to be more confident if it's a new coach or, maybe even someone else rather than Naki, I still know I have the ability to win this game.
So, Aki is really, really good, and if him, I'm just going to say that he's going to win, but if it's quite literally anybody else, I'm going to say Villanova wins.
I got Nova in this one. I think Nova is going to continue to roll this season and be a potential playoff contender at the end of this. So I got Nova, and I got Nova big.
Again, yeah, I have no idea if Naki is gonna be in that coaching slot. So if he is, I will support the dad. But either way, it's not gonna be more than a score. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a very close game. With Naki coaching, it's definitely a different game. But either way, I'm going to go Villanova.
As we've seen now, I don't play in any.
Next up, we have Wofford at VMI.
Oh, I had.
Start off this one if you want.
Oh yeah, go ahead. It's all you.
So I'm going to go with VMI. Wofford is coming off a tough loss to North Carolina Central and is 1-3. And I still continue to believe that VMI is just too good to have a bad season. So I'm going to go with VMI.
I'm going against you there. I do think that this slide for VMI is just going to continue. And even though Wofford is coming off a loss, I have Wofford winning by 10 points.
Yeah, I got Wofford by 17. I know VMI, last was a good team, but
So I'm also going to go with Wofford, although I do realize that VMI is really good, so they're only going to by maybe 7.
I think both of these teams are kind of struggling near that bottom to mid table. So I think VMI is definitely going to come they won the CAA last season. They really can't I don't think they can keep this losing stretch up too much longer. So I'll take them by a score.
Yeah, I agree. I see both these teams struggling a good bit, but just history based, I'll go VMI.
Next up, we have William and Mary against Albany.
Start this one off. So he played very, very well against Maine last week in a win, so I think they're going to be riding that momentum into this week.
Hey, I don't want to take anything away from William and Mary, but I just think Albany's the better team here. I have them by 2 scores.
Yeah, I agree. I have Albany. I'm kind of pissed at Albany right now because Youngstown State has never been able to play for the Magna Carta, which is the CAA only belt, or the overall CAA belt that we're still in the process of naming. And if Albany had not upset Maine last week, then I would finally be playing for the overall CAA belt this week against Maine. However, Albany now holds the overall CAA belt. And so for that reason, I'm going to take William and Mary because I'm upset with Albany.
It's worth noting, though, this game, William and Mary holds the Magna Carta, and Albany holds the overall CAA belt. So the Magna Carta is going to be the CAA only belt, so William and Mary can't lose that this game. But what William and Mary could do is win back the overall CAA belt, and so they'll be a double belt holder. And I think that'll be the first time that happens since season 0, week 1.
And I think I'm gonna go with them consolidating that. I think they're going to get that win over Albany, bounce back, if they can get the game done in time, obviously.
I agree. I think they're going to be able to hold both belts. I'm going to go with William and Mary.
We'll just call it the Holy Belt. Figure it out. Next, I'm going to go to YSU at Maine, and I'll start this one off here. I'm going to predict Maine to win. I do think this is going to be a low-scoring game, as are most of my games. But Maine was bested by YSU in the playoffs last season or in the postseason, and I think Maine gets the win here.
This is my prediction for probably the lowest scoring game for a CAA team, because I have it predicted as a 10-3 YSU win. Going to be a defensive showdown and a clock controlling showdown for YSU. I think they'll take a dub.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a action battle here, and I think YSU is going to bounce back and make a statement after that tough loss last week.
I'm gonna say the exact opposite. But I'm gonna say that Maine's gonna win for the same reason that Edge just mentioned. They had a tough loss last week, so tough loss. So they're gonna come in and I'm gonna say win by 3-7 against ISU.
I think Bernie needs to have some more confidence in himself. YSU by 2 scores.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of self-deprecation going on here. I'm gonna go with YSU as well.
All right, I'm back on. I'm ready to go now. ESU at Delaware is up next.
Okay, so I'm not sleeping on Sarah. She's a great coach, but Delaware's better, so Delaware wins, even though it is 2
Yeah, I kind of messed this up at the beginning because I wanted this to be my game of the week, and then I accidentally said Delaware State. But you're looking at 2 contrasting play styles with Delaware's option and North Dakota State's air raid. But I say clock control, so give me Delaware 21-20 or 21-14.
I think here. I think they're gonna win big.
With Edge, give me Delaware by a couple scores.
Yeah, I don't know if I can believe in the Missouri Valley, so Delaware by a score or 2.
Yeah, I trust the ground and pound. It's my same thing I do with the option, so I'll go Delaware.
Next, we have a segment that was submitted by Danny called Back and Bash, where we talk about things that we are supportive of or things that we think CAA teams need to improve. Do you want to take us through the CAA South here?
This is totally my thing. Submitted by Danny. Big up Danny. So I got a back and bash every single CAA South team besides myself. So I'm going to start it off. If I could pull up the script here. All right. So I'm going to start it off with Delaware State. Great ball movement, good explosive play, but my bash is going to be they can't control their special teams, and they always seem to choke on special teams. For Delaware and Viamat, my back is going to be that they're both great clock controlling run teams, but my bash is going to be that inability to force turnovers really causes stress to the game. For Duquesne, it's definitely a common theme here. Really explosive offense, pretty bad defense. And then finally, for Richmond, they have a great offense, good pass defense, but a horrible rush defense. And clock controlling is not the strong part of Richmond's game. So there's my back and bash for every CAA South team that's not me.
Like it. Move to everyone's favorite segment here, which is listener topic. I think we should start with discussing the current status of the coaches poll. I pinned Chatty's message with the poll so far so that we have ease of reference. Taking a quick look through here, I think it's good to see Northern Arizona up there at number 6. I'm really surprised that Junie is still not making inroads into the top 5, however. 8th is a little low for Junie, in my opinion. I'd be interested in hearing what OSU kid has to say about currently sitting in the ninth hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to me. Like I said earlier, I really don't back myself. I still haven't played anybody. I mean, maybe if you look at last year, I had a few big wins, but I mean, especially for me, I like to look at this season when I'm ranking teams. So I'm not quite sure. I guess it's just because of the 0 in the loss column, but I think I could fall from there pretty soon.
Another shocking situation for me is seeing Campbell 2 spots ahead of Northern Iowa right now. Campbell coming off an absolute shellacking last week. To be in front of Northern Iowa is a little surprising to me. And I don't know if that's more about Campbell being at 14 or Northern Iowa at 16, but I would have had Northern Iowa, I think, considerably higher at the poll.
So I am looking at the poll, and I see Brian at 25. So Viking Fishberg is their offensive coordinator, and Lancer is their defensive coordinator. I think they have a legitimate chance to run the table, so I think they should be way higher.
I'm just gonna say that I like that Bryant as well. That's like you gotta rate on what they have done, not what they will do. So yeah, they may run the table. They may be in the playoffs at the end of the year. So I like them at 25. Myself at 15. Honestly, I'm fine with. It's a jump from 24. So I can't really complain about it. Although Northern Iowa should have been higher. Another thing to look at is four Big Sky teams: Northern Arizona, Southern Utah, Tana State, and Cal Poly in the top 15. So I haven't done the analysis to see if there's any other conference that has that level at the top, but it's a good sign that the Big Sky is still kind of back.
Kind of similar. I also saw three CAA or CAA alums in the 15 through 18 spot. So that was my take on that as well. Since I still view Fruity as a CAA school more than a Big Sky school. Other thoughts on the top 25, or we'll move on to the next listener topic here?
Not much to say. It looks pretty good, except for Chase. Chase should be higher.
Okay, next up we have Alabama A&M, who submitted. We worried about the reputation of the conference where defense just doesn't seem to show up. I'm not. I think it's fun for viewers and especially for neutrals who are tuning into a CAA game to see high-scoring games, especially if you're watching a Robert Morris game. Games are absolutely wild. So I think the lack of defense in a lot of these games is just parity in the league.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that, but in my opinion, offense is the best defense, so I love this. Big 12 all the way. Yes.
The more points, the merrier, you know? That's what they always say.
Yeah, I know we've all, had what, kind of looked like defensive struggles at one point or another this season. But, I think especially, if you're going to end up, pinging the close game role, that's the type of game that people want to see. They want to see the close, high scoring games, the shootouts. They don't want to see, they don't want to see a 3-0 game.
I think I think the lack of defense in the conference is good it could be good in conference games because you'll see a lot of in conference high scoring games, but especially this weekend in week 8, I wonder how that will shake out playing against other conferences, especially against conferences with strong option defense focused teams.
Yeah, I was gonna points. I'm actually. It's interesting to see the number of points listed up on the scoreboard, especially just right. We have, I think I'm young. We have 18. We have like a spread teams. We have I think 4 options. Yeah. The road team. Let's put that out there as well.
Yeah, kind of taking off what Fruity said. I personally like to run a lot of option and kind of run clock a lot of the time. I like to spam chew. So teams who play like that, who might not necessarily have the greatest defense, it kind of plays to my play style. So I think other people that play a lot of option and like to play defense might like that a lot for out of conference play.
Absolutely. We had another question submitted by Alabama A&M, which is, who is the 4-0 team that nobody is talking about? Wants to start us off on this one?
I think we all are kind of on the same beat here. New Hampshire was like one of the only few 3-0 teams that wasn't ranked, and they won the game this week. So I gotta go New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's got to be New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you guys because I think they are the lowest ranked undefeated team. So they are the most slept on team right now that's undefeated.
I agree. I'm with you on that. UNH.
Yeah, it's just I haven't really heard anything about UNH, so them.
I agree. I mean, they're obviously underrated, but as they come on, they're getting a little more respect as the provisional poll we have here has them at 11. So hopefully they can kind of prove where they are.
Next question comes in from San Diego. What is the best meme number?
Obviously it's got to be the official number of the CAA, 1492. If you're not calling it at least once a half, are you really even in this conference?
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat here. It's got to be 1492. But I will respect the backstory behind 1212, and I use it once in a while. So, not going to overcount, or not going to overlook 1212, but it's got to be 1492.
I agree with you that 1492 and 1212 are both good, but I really like the ability of one to pick up a game. It actually has helped me quite a few times on PATs and kickoffs as well. I'm surprised somebody could go for a 750.
I don't think I could be commissioner of the CAA if I didn't say 1492. So I'm going to go 1492.
There's a whole lot of good meme numbers out there. I can respect the having a normal one for the kickoff and the 1492, obviously. I myself am a member of the Church of 1212, but 1312 is another good option that has to be considered.
Yeah, I also I have to agree with Matt. In terms of meme number, I actually use a good bit. I do like to use one on a pretty good basis. But I think obviously the obvious choice here has to be 69, and I think it's a true classic. And 690 is another good one.
Oh, that's another favorite of the Holy Cross Crusaders. So you're in good company. Both of those numbers. Fruity, this is your question. You asked, who are your top 5 teams in the FCS right now? Why don't you give us your top 5 first?
I gotta say, I have, I can't look past Bethune-Cookman at number 1, obviously. I have my boy Judge, Kennesaw State at number 2. Brady, some people are saying he's a pretender. I have him at number 3. Sam Houston State at number 4. And NAU, the Big Sky rep, should be at number 5.
All right. So mine is pretty similar, but it's not identical. I have Bethune-Cookman as number 1. I have Brady in Missouri Valley at 2. I have Judge at 3. And then my 4 and 5 are Sam Houston and Junie. I feel like he should be higher than 4 right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty similar there. I have BC 1, and then I have Judge number 2. And then I have Brady 3. And then 4 and 5, I have Sam Houston in North Carolina Central. A close 6 would be NAU, just because, Big Sky reps in the chat. Or, sorry, in the pause. So I kind of got to give a shout out there.
I think I'm a little different. I'm one of the only people that doesn't have Bethune-Cookman at number 1 yet. I actually have USC at 1, and then Bethune-Cookman at a close 2. And then, rounding out the top 5, I got Kennesaw State, NC Central, and Sam Houston State.
Read the comments, Edge. Don't read the comments. I'm going to go Bethune-Cookman 1, VSU 2, Sam Houston State 3, Kennesaw State 4, North Carolina Central 5.
So I'm going to go Bethune-Cookman 1, KSU 2, Sam Houston State 3. I actually have Brady pretty low. Missouri Valley State, I have him at 4. I just want another big win. Maybe beat me, and I'll put you higher on the list. And then NAU at 5 for some Big Sky flavor.
Matt, you submitted our next question. I don't know if you want to read it.
So, as you guys may or may not have heard, it's been all but confirmed that Luca, Apes, and Tenny are all going to be trying to come back to the FCS next year. They're all going to be in the same conference, whatever it may be. So how excited are you guys on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's got to be a 10 for me. I mean, we are the best CS, so just bringing more talent into the conference. Sorry, not the conference. Into the subdivision would be good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a 10 as well. I think this does show how the FCS reigns supreme over the FBS, and those who leave realize the mistake they made pretty quickly.
Yeah, I completely agree with the 10 there. FCS has got a huge boost by getting them, and then, it really just proves that, we're kind of the place to be.
From what I've also heard, there's all more rumors flying around. Naki is going to be coming back for certain, leaving Ole Miss, and also Keo coming back from Oregon State. And there's rumors and there's people trying to work it out that all of them are going to be in the American East. We'll see what happens, but I'm definitely very excited for that.
It's gonna be a loaded conference if they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously great for good coaches to come back. It just proves the prominence of the FCS, and I'd still need to play Aves because he beat me and left, so he needs to come back and play me.
Our last question comes from Charleston Southern, who said, "Who's the most likely 2-0 team in conference play to not win their conference, and the most likely 0-2 team in conference play to win their conference?"
I'm going to start off, and I'm going to say Charleston Southern to not win the CSC. They kind of got lucky with these first two games, but now the rest of the conference is an absolute gauntlet that they have to run through. So my 2-0 that won't win is going to be CSU. And then my 0-2 that will win, I'm going to stick in the CAA. And I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to say Towson has probably the best chance to win, just truly based off the parity of the conference.
Yeah, for my most likely 0-2 to win the conference, and I'm going to stick with two. They struggled early, but they've shown some. And just to stick in here for most likely 2-0 to not win the conference, I'm going to go with me. Because just the CAA North there's so much parity in the CAA North here, and it's going to be tough to get through it all and stay on top.
I'm going to be on a similar vein, and I'm going to say Towson's most likely to win. However, I'm going to agree with Dora that CSU is going to be most likely to lose because of these 5 final games they got to play that I actually have pulled up. So the 5 final conference games. So week 7, he plays Junie. Week 9 is Presbyterian. Week 10, Gardner-Webb. Week 11, Furman. And week 12 is Wofford. That's one of the worst stretches, I think, of any team in the country. Oh, yeah. So I just don't see them coming out on top of the conference if they can't stay up with these guys.
I'm going to go to the America East for my 2-0 team that's least likely to win their conference, and I'm going to pick Merrimack in the same division with Rhode Island and New Hampshire, both of whom are going to be highly ranked. They also have Maine and Bryant and Holy Cross in that division. So that's already a gauntlet of a division without anyone else joining. And you still have really talented teams like Long Island and Stony Brook and Albany on the other side if they even get to the conference championship. Give me Merrimack as the team that's least likely to get to their conference championship game. That's currently 2-0. And for my 0-2 team, I'm going to go with Butler, the MVC. They're 0-2 right now, but that division is fairly winnable. They're one of 7 teams in there, and all 7 teams still have a shot to come out of that division. One is unbeaten in that division right now, so Butler's only a game behind at 0-2.
Yeah, before yesterday, I would have picked Purple at Jacksonville as my 0-2 most likely to win the conference, but he had to screw that up by winning. So I guess for 0-2, I'm going to go with Towson. I think the CAA is definitely, everything is up in the air still with 6 games to go. He could finish 6-2 in conference. And for 2-0 team, I think it'll be very close between Southern Utah and Northern Arizona, because that Big Sky South, Southern Utah, Northern Arizona, and myself, 3 teams in the top 15. Somebody is going to have to come out on top there and then face Montana State. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to make mine kind of a Big Sky edition. I played Dixie State this week, and he didn't play much, but when he did play, it was becoming kind of a close game. I was getting kind of scared at the end that it would be some weird stuff with timing and all that. I think if he comes back and plays as a 0-2 team, I don't know if he could win the conference necessarily, but he could definitely make some noise in there. And then, obviously, between myself and Northern Arizona, I think I'm going to be the one to lose to them, but it could definitely set up a pretty good game. And, of course, we have Fruity in there as well, so it could be a really close race here in the Big Sky South.
I think that concludes our programming today. Apologies for running over an hour, but we did have a lot of good content, actually heading into an out-of-conference week. So we will be back with you. I have 2 weeks from today on May 31st. And especially like to thank us, you kids, for being our guest this week.
Glad to have been here.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Good luck to everyone.